so fresh, looking so fresh. When I walk by, breaking their necks. Waiting in line at the team store. Now I'm feeling fly like a condor. Eyes on me when I walk through the door. Man, I wish I bought a couple more. Cause I really love my city. It was worth every penny. If it were at my show, then I know they gon' tip me. Think I might add a couple patches. If you think it's ugly, you capping. Now my whole outfit matching. Never going out of fashion.
Yay! What a great day to be a Padre fan, huh? Roki Sasaki going to the Dodgers. It started out this morning, a report from Francis Romero, who I didn't want to believe. It was no disrespect to him, but it wasn't Jeff Passan. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised that it wasn't Passan that broke it. It wasn't any reporter that broke it. It was the player himself. You know, Shohei Ohtani broke the news that he was going to the Dodgers himself, posting the Dodger logo. And now Roki Sasaki does the same thing, except there was a Dodger hat hanging on one of the seats at Dodger Stadium. So, yeah, sucky day, real sucky day. I'm sure there are Padres fans that have like Dodger fans in their workplace, have Dodger fans in their life. Maybe you shared that moment with them like I did today. So, yeah, so freaking fun. So fun. But, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be tons of Dodger fans. Now, thank you, increasing the views here. But sure, go ahead. You can celebrate, whatever. I'm trying to keep it, my mindset being like, hey, it's just going to make it that much sweeter when we can beat them. Like 2022, where we were able to upset the Dodgers, where they had Freddie, they had Mookie, they had this talent. I know they didn't have Shohei yet, but they were able to knock them off. And how great of a feeling was that, right? When the Dodgers, they had just won, what was it, 111 games, something like that? And then the Padres come, they were down the series at one point, and they come, and then they win it. And it was at Petco Park where they closed it out. They had the opportunity, obviously, this past season. But imagine if the Padres can somehow put together a team. And I know that 2022 team had Juan Soto, and it's different circumstances. I get it. But imagine if the 2025, excuse me. I've got to get used to saying 2025. What if the 25 Padres somehow can put together a run, get into the postseason, and then they knock off the Dodgers that has Roki and Shohei and Yamamoto and Freddie and Mookie and Muncy. Just go down the line, say Oscar, and they add Michael Conforto and Snell and Glasnow, and just go down the line with the talent they have, Blake Trinan, all that, right? Defending World Series champs, obviously the favorite. They're going to win over 100 games in the regular season. What if the Padres can knock off them? That would be a heck of an underdog story. That would be a heck of a story. And the Padres, I think, are going to be a popular team around the country, maybe around the world this year, because everyone's going to be hating the Dodgers. And this could be good for baseball. I know there's some that are like, I don't want to watch the games. No point in watching the games anymore after this news comes down. But I feel like that's how fans were about Shohei when he signed with the Dodgers. But then people still watch the games, Having a villain like this, I think, is good for the game. But I wish the villain was the Padres. On paper, going into 2023, when you have the Padres had that talent, that was fun, right? So it's cool being the underdog. I'm used to being the underdog, right? Like San Diego, we're used to it. This is nothing new to us. But of course, it would be nice to have all that talent and to have that big old TV deal they have, and to have the money and not have the owners or someone who wants to be the owner fighting with the family that controls it now, just the whole ownership drama that's going on. And meanwhile, the Dodgers, with all the the hundreds of millions of dollars committed to many players on that roster, what do they do after winning the World Series this offseason? They go get Blake Snell. They signed Teoscar Hernandez back. They signed Michael Conforto. And I know Roki Sasaki is not $300 million, right? That would have been if he would have waited a couple of years. But they go do that. And so it's just kicking the nuts is what it feels like with this Padres offseason. You look at the D-backs, they get Corbin Burns. You look at the Giants, they get Willie Adames. You know, it's just like, all right, when's the Padres' turn going to come? Can we settle with Michael King, you know, and not go to arbitration there? That feels like that would be a win for us. Can we bring back Jurickson Profar? That feels like it would be a win. Martin Maldonado on a minor league deal. And I know I discussed this earlier in the offseason, and some people didn't want to hear it because they're like, Martin Maldonado, get out of here. But on a minor league deal, I'm fine with it. But that's not going to get fans all riled up and super excited when all we've been talking about this offseason, I say we as most Padre fans, it feels like it's been, you know, Roki Sasaki. And he goes to the Dodgers, obviously. Blake Snell, we were never going to get him. So it just feels different with Roki because it seemed like we had a chance. He literally was throwing in Padres gear at Petco Park, and videos of that came out. Maybe we should have known then that he wasn't going to come sign here. But, yeah, like, we knew that we were close. And so it sucks even more that he's going to the Dodgers, but it just sucks overall. If he would have went to the Blue Jays, it would have been hilarious, but also it would have still sucked at the same time. It would have been hilarious because, you know, Dodger fans don't get him. But it would have sucked, obviously, because we didn't get him. But at least he would have been on an American League team. But I don't think anyone thought that he was actually going to go sign with the Blue Jays. It was Padres or Dodgers. And the favorite, regardless of what anyone said, if anyone said, like, oh, no, the Padres, I think, are the favorite now amongst executives, I always said I didn't give a crap what executives thought because they're not Roki Sasaki. Maybe they're not even talking to Roki Sasaki, or they were eliminated. So how do they know what the heck he's thinking? And what team, right? So I don't care. The whole time, the Dodgers were the favorite. It just felt, you know, when they can walk in there with the World Series trophy, Yamamoto, Ohtani, if Sasaki wants to talk to Mookie Betts, you can do that. You want to talk to Freddie Freeman, you can do that. There's a lot there. And so on my Instagram story, when I reacted to Roki signing with the Dodgers, I think I said something like, took the easy route. And there were some people that thought I was like being serious, like being pissed off at him for taking the easy route. I mean, of course, that's what, if you don't have an allegiance, you're not born and raised like I am in San Diego, and you're coming over from Japan and you have Shohei Ohtani over there, you have Yamamoto over there, right? And sure, there's Darvish here and Matsui, but it's not the same as Ohtani. I get that. It's not the same. You know, Yamamoto, who isn't in his prime even yet for like Major League Baseball, you know, he still, that was just his rookie year. But yeah, with the Dodgers, I get it. I get, obviously they're more appealing than the Padres. If you don't have any allegiance to any team, if you didn't grow up rooting for a certain team, or you didn't grow up, you know, in that city. And for Roki, he obviously grew up in Japan, you know? So he's trying to he wants to win. He wants to be in Major League Baseball now. And if he performs, then he'll end up getting paid anyway. Can the Dodgers develop players? Yes, we know the answer to that is yes. But as a Padres fan this entire time in this process, I was just hoping that maybe he'd be like, hey, I get to go learn under you, Darvish. And I know he can learn under Ohtani. He can learn with Yamamoto. So some of my points here cancel out each other. I get it. But I was hoping he wanted to learn under Darvish, not be in the shadow of Shohei with the Dodgers. And maybe he was like, I was just thinking, like, he's not coming over for the money. Maybe he's thinking different. Like, I'll still be on the West Coast in San Diego, and I get to step in to the Padres and be the potential star in the rotation and one of the faces of the franchise instead of stepping into the Dodgers. And where is he? Is he the fourth starter? I don't even know what starter he would be in that rotation. How much of a spotlight is now? He in San Diego, he would have more of a spotlight in terms of like us relying on him. So maybe he didn't want that, and he wanted to take his time to develop with the Dodgers. But I feel like either way, there was still going to be a spotlight on him. But maybe he feels like, hey, I'll have less pressure on me. That's probably the best word. Less pressure on me going to the Dodgers to perform right out of the gate than with the Padres, you know? But everyone in Japan watches the Dodgers with Shohei playing and Yamamoto there, right? So there's going to be pressure wherever he went. But pressure to perform in terms of like the pressure to be like a huge guy, and he may still put that pressure on himself, but just looking at rosters on paper, it's clear that the Dodgers are I'll put it this way, the Dodgers obviously are in a better spot to have Roki not end up working out than the Padres. The Padres, like we were banking on Roki, if he comes here, being, a frontline caliber guy and then being an ace eventually in this rotation and not making much money. He fits so great with the Padres because of the circumstances that they're in. So yeah, it's a major kick in the nuts. Not just missing out, but again, obviously him going to the Dodgers. So there's probably a bunch of Dodger fans in the chat, so I don't know how much of the chat, to be quite honest, that I'm going to get to tonight. But if I see any Padres comments in there, I will try to read through those. But yeah, I mean, what now for the Padres? After Roki Sasaki is out of the picture, there's a bunch of questions. Do you trade Dylan Cease? Do you trade Luis Ariz to gain some more financial flexibility to make other moves? In those deals, do you get back young, controllable pitching to, be cheap, obviously, and develop those guys? Jurickson Profar, he's still out there. I'm not hearing anything about his market, so could the Padres get him on a little bit of a discount? That would be nice. Ha-Sung Kim, who's going to DH, bench. Donovan Solano signed with the Mariners, I think, for like $3.5 million. Higgy's gone to the Rangers. They signed Maldonado on a minor league deal, but are they going to sign someone on a major league deal? Or are they going to sign another veteran on a minor league deal and have Maldonado and that guy compete with Campy for a starting job? There's a lot of questions here. With the bullpen, I don't think Suarez is going to be traded, but he's another one that's making I think his AAV is $9 million, something like that. I don't think he's going anywhere, but that's another significant salary. I'm not bringing up Bogarts or Cronenworth because they're not going to get traded because I don't see teams taking on those contracts. But yeah, catcher, what's happening there? DH, bench, left field, and rotation. Right now, it's Cease, and that's right now. He could be traded. Cease, King, and Darvish. No particular order, just those three. And then it's Waldron and Vasquez as 4-5 right now. The Padres don't want Waldron and Vasquez as 4-5. They want one of those guys. Well, they probably don't, actually. They probably want those guys being depth. But based on the situation financially that they're in, it sure seems like one of those guys would be the fifth starter or compete for that, right? And another guy would be in El Paso as like depth. And then they acquire, somehow trade, free agency, fourth starter. Is it going to be a vet? Is it going to be more of a controllable guy that they trade, Luis Ariz somewhere and they can keep Cease and build that way and then sign someone to replace Luis Ariz there? Shortstop. Is Bogarts going to be at shortstop? What's that infield configuration going to be like? How much money do the Padres have to spend? They have not spent on a major league free agent. They have not acquired any big league player. Tyler Wade doesn't count. He was already on the roster for $900,000. He was already under contract going into this next season. They just agreed to that number. These arbitration guys, that doesn't count. They were already under contract. Martin Maldonado, that's a minor league deal. It could be like David Peralta, and he ends up being, at the big league level for a lot of the year. But right now, he's on a minor league deal. If the Padres believed in him enough, wouldn't they have just given him a major league deal? But they gave him a minor league deal. So, again, I just wondered, are they going to make another addition to create some more competition? Because Luis Camposano, as much as I want him to work out, he's got to show it to me. He's got to be healthy, and then he's got to produce. He's got to be better defensively, I think, behind the plate. So, lots of questions, obviously. And in free agency for the starting rotation, it's not like there's a ton of names out there where I'm like, yeah, that guy and that guy fits because he's going to come super cheap for us. I mean, Max Scherzer, who knows what he has left, but he's not going to come here for $2 million, right? I wouldn't think. So, who are these guys? And while they waited for Roki, and maybe I shouldn't even just say waited for Roki, but they just haven't been spending money, and they weren't going to be spending a bunch of money anyway. I understand that, but I was pissed off they didn't bring back Higgy. I thought that was a reasonable deal. You got the whole ownership drama, but even with that, like ownership has to allow AJ Preller to go spend money still. So is this the Padres saying, hey, sure, we have a cap, we have guidelines here, or mandates for ownership, but they have some money to spend. I don't know what that amount is, but they have to have been given an amount of money to spend. What is that amount of money? And so the Padres just haven't been able to match up with guys. They're waiting for Profar's market to come down. Are they waiting for other pitchers' markets to come down? And I wonder what that pitching is going to look like in free agency, that pitching market, now that Roki is gone, because what happens now with other teams that were in on him? Not even just the Blue Jays, but what about the Cubs? Other teams that met, the Mets, I think they've signed some guys. I think they brought back Shamanaya. But what's going to happen with other teams? The Rangers, I think, were another team that met with Roki Sasaki and didn't land him. I'm looking up right now, unrestricted free agents, starting pitchers, according to Spot Track. And let me make this to all available. So, like, there's Max Scherzer. His previous AAV was 43 mil. I get that was the Mets contract, and he's not going to get that. He may not get 20 million a year. Probably not. Maybe it'll be closer to what Verlander got with the Giants. But the Padres aren't going to pay that. It doesn't seem like they're going to pay that to a starting pitcher. Patrick Corbin, Charlie Morton, he signed with Baltimore, though, so I don't know why he's on there. Jack Flaherty, they don't have the money to spend on Jack Flaherty. So I just, Andrew Heaney, maybe he is an option, left-handed, 33. I think he's age 34 season next year. He made 12.5 mil, though, I think, his AAV with the Rangers coming off this past season. So what is his market going to be? What are the Padres willing to give, like the most amount of money they're willing to give for a free agent starting pitcher? I don't know what that is. Is it 5-6 million? Then that's money that you're taking away from possibly bringing back Jurickson Profar, So lots of questions. This Roki thing, the Padres needed him more than any other. Sure, like the Guardians and other teams like that, sure, that, are lower payroll teams. But the Padres, they really needed Roki Sasaki. Financially, and just based on the lack of depth right now, rotation-wise. Let's remember the Padres, they parted with two of their top prospects, Robbie Snelling and Dylan Lesko, this past season. Yeah, I love having Jason Adam, but who knows? And I know those guys had injury histories, and those not a guarantee to work out. Prospects are prospects. But they just don't, I don't see, and maybe there are other people that follow the system more closely than I do. They would bring up names that, like, no, that guy could, I trust him with the rotation spot, but I'm not seeing those names right now. I think I would know more about him if that was actually like a real possibility. So, yeah, not great. Must be nice to be the Dodgers, though, where I was looking up their depth chart. Let me find it. But it's now loaded with pitchers. I mean, they have starting pitchers that may end up being in the bullpen, like at the bottom of their bullpen to start this next season. Shohei isn't even in this rotation, this projected starting rotation for the Dodgers, but he could come back, I think, this year and pitch. But they've got Blake Snell, they've got Yamamoto, they've got Glass now, Tony Gonsolin. Sasaki is penned in as their 5th starter. Sasaki, if he would have went to the Padres, where would he have been? Maybe the 3rd starter if they would have traded Cease, right? And then eventually we would have wanted him to be the number 1 starter or number 2, if they lock down Michael King or something, right? So I feel like Roki was like, you know what? Dodgers, consistent postseason team, so much talent. I can develop and learn under Shohei and what they've got going there. And I don't have to immediately go be great at the big league level. Maybe I can ease my way in here. So I can understand why Roki did end up signing with the Dodgers. It sucks, but I can't understand it. This is the situation that the Padres are in, the Dodgers are in. Dustin May is their 6th starter right now on Fangraphs. It's a joke. Michael Grove is listed in the bullpen. They've got Kopech, Trinan, Evan Phillips, Anthony Banda, Ryan Brazier, Alex Vesia, and Michael Grove in their bullpen. And again, Shohei is not even in this projected rotation. So, I have the same mindset as going into last year. Like, don't even think about the division. It was cool, the whole triple play thing last year, and they were close, but don't even think about that. Get into the postseason, be playing good baseball at the right time, and then possibly go on a run. But how are you going to be able to play good baseball at the right time and, stay in it the whole season with the state of this team right now? And I know that the bright thing is, if you want to look at bright spots here and like try to be optimistic, there's a lot of holes to fill, yes, but Preller did a lot of his work after this date last season or last year. A lot of key guys, whether that was Jason Adam, Tanner Scott, Dylan Cease, Luis Arise, a lot of guys. And that's just the start of the list. A lot of guys that came in after January 17th or whatever, January after the New Year starts, a lot of new guys came in. Profar ended up signing late, that 1-year deal. Remember that? They didn't really have a firm grasp on what they were going to do with Jackson Merrill. He was in left to start spring, and then he went to center, and then look what happened. There's a lot of things that could happen. Those minor league deals, Martin Maldonado could end up working out, so AJ, he could end up being a better, and we saw it this past year. If we're basing it off this past year, he is a better GM when he has those constraints on him. So I'm definitely not saying Sasaki to the Dodgers is a good thing, because that wasn't about the money, right? This isn't a good thing. But there being constraints, I don't think it's the end of the world. I just wonder, are the constraints more on him this year than last offseason amid this whole ownership thing? But ownership still, I think he's still reporting to Eric Kutsenda, Eric Grutner. They had to have given him an amount of money that he could spend. You can't just have your GM and, your GM comes to you and he's like, how much money do I have to spend this offseason? I don't know. We'll see. Well, you're setting your GM up for failure. How can you go about anything if you don't know how much money? So he's been given an amount. We don't know what that amount is. And clearly the Padres are in a waiting game to see what markets go down for what players. And then we'll see if teams say, you know what, I'm tired of waiting for free agency. Let's go trade for some of these Padres players, and the Padres can get back young, controllable guys. So still, there's a lot happening here in this Padres offseason. There's, January 17th. So we're like a month out from pitchers and catchers, maybe even whole squad reporting to spring training. And there's a lot of spots that need to be filled. But the good news is the season does not start today. It doesn't start mid-February either. There's still time. Moves have been made before, significant ones during spring training, or right before a flight is made, to a different country. So that's pretty much what I've got here on the Padres losing out on Roki Sasaki. They did at least reportedly make a couple of international additions because I assume that's when they learned, like, hey, we're not getting Sasaki, so we need to pivot. So they ended up signing, I forget the two guys' names, but one's a shortstop, one is a pitcher, I think a left-handed pitcher. I have their names 1 second here. Carlos Alvarez, and then Johan De La Cruz. I think De La Cruz is the shortstop, Alvarez is the pitcher. That was early this morning. This was 5:40 in the morning from Francis Romero, and I didn't want to believe it, but that ended up, it seems like, coming true. So credit to him, obviously. And yeah, that's pretty much where we sit. Before getting to the comment, shout out to the great partners of the show, Gaglione Bros, famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries. Their main location is on Friars Road. Check them out. The link is in the description, phone number, address. Great cheesesteaks, cheesesteak fries, garlic fries. They will hook you up there. Breaking Tea. They've got Padres and Aztecs shirts and sweatshirts. The Aztecs are back in action. San Diego State basketball coming up tomorrow at 5. So we'll see if they can continue playing well coming off of their last game. We'll see what type of performance Miles Bird can have after one heck of a performance he had the other night, earlier in the week. Underdog Fantasy. Code Talking Friars. Claim a special pick. First time, 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Link is in the description. Obviously, it's not baseball season, but there's college football, one more game, the national championship game, NFL, NBA. They do have WNBA when that season rolls around in the summer. There's soccer on there. I believe there's UFC and golf. So much college sports as well, college basketball. So there's a lot there. Pick'ems, so many things there. So check them out. And then SeatGeek code Talking Friars, $20 off your first order. Again, code Talking Friars. All right, let's go to the super chats first. Albert F the Dodgers. Amen to that. Thank you for the super chat. Kermit with the super chat. Hi, Ben. Are the Padres planning to fire Hideo Nomo anytime soon, or are they keeping him around to set a new standard for being utterly useless? All right. I've seen people kind of have this about Darvish too. Not like useless, because obviously he can still help the team, but how whenever he talks to a Japanese guy, they end up signing with another team. So what are we doing here? I get the frustration, but Sasaki's not signing with the Padres because Hideo Nomo says you should come here, or, has a good relationship with him. Like, same thing with Darvish. He can go have a good relationship with Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and maybe he already has good relationships with those guys. I'm not totally aware. So that's something that I was hoping would be great, and maybe Roki and Darvish totally got along in their meeting and all that. But Roki has to make the decision that's best for him and his future. And maybe he felt like, hey, Padres, that would be great because I get to be with Darvish. Dodgers would be great as well. So I'm picking two pretty good situations here, and I'm going to go with the Dodgers for whatever reasons he says. But thank you for that super chat. JD's third. Hey, Ben, Passan tweeted, Roki posted on his Instagram. Can we believe it now? Also, the Dodgers are signing their remaining international free agents tomorrow. Why did AJ wait? Well, the Dodgers may not be, and I don't know totally about all of those international guys, but the Dodgers, maybe they're not spending as much money as the Padres on players, or they don't have as many players. So they can still do it. Where the Padres, they pivoted because they weren't going to get him, and so they need to go be aggressive to go get those other guys. Of course, yes, JD's third. We can believe it now. But I didn't want to believe it this morning. I just wanted to go about my day and not, think about Roki being a Dodger. But now, yes, it has happened. Do I think the Padres will keep I think DC you're referring to is Dylan Cease. That's who DC is. I think they will. You know, if they add Roki, you probably still wanted to go all in with Dylan Cease, right? But like now you don't have that starter in the rotation. So, and a guy that could be a frontline caliber guy, throws 100, all that. So, where are you going to get that anywhere? You have a pretty good starter in Dylan Cease, so maybe you keep him. And maybe the guy that you trade for to get financial flexibility is Luis Ariz. But I mean, I'd like to have Luis Ariz long term too, because I think that's a great guy to have top of the order. The bat to ball skills. I know he doesn't give you a whole lot more, but I still think that's valuable in baseball. I refuse to believe a bat to ball guy at his level isn't valuable. JD's third says hashtag sell the team. To who? Like, if it's going to be the Seidler brothers, yeah, I don't know. But if it's Shield that ends up winning this, I believe in Shield. So be careful when you want to sell the team, because who are you selling the team to? Do they care about winning as much as the Seidlers? And I mean the Seidlers by like the guys we know. Tom Seidler, Shield Seidler, obviously Peter before he passed. Do they care as much as them? And if so, okay, but I'd rather keep it in the Seidler name. All right. Lots of comments here. I can see there are a ton of Dodger fans making comments. It's interesting. You sign Roki Sasaki. Wouldn't you go to a Dodger show and celebrate that? Like when the Padres acquired Juan Soto or Josh Hader or they signed Manny Machado, my first thought was not, hey, let me go to a Dodger channel and, you know, troll over there. Like, no, I'm celebrating with Padre fans. So Dodger fan, maybe you guys don't have great Dodger shows. I don't know, but thank you. But still, it's interesting that on a Friday night you're in a Padre fan live show, but it's not a rivalry, right? That's what I've been told. Garcia says, I'm curious what pushed him away from the Padres. Part of it could be, like I talked about earlier, him maybe not wanting to have to deliver right out of the gate. With the Dodgers, he doesn't have to, at least on paper. Look how many freaking arms they have. Continuing to go through the chat here. Berto, I think this is a Dodger fan, says Ben needs the clicks, so he needs to talk about the Dodgers. That's probably his best viewed videos. I think they are, but I'm sorry. You don't expect me to talk about Roki Sasaki not coming to the Padres and him going to the Dodgers? You're nuts if you think I'm not going to talk about that. Like, what? Anyway, moving on. Yeah, some of these Dodger fans are saying the Dodgers live rent free in your dome 24 hours a day, which is funny because these are Dodger fans that are on a Padre fan channel when they just landed someone. So to me, that's no, the Padres are rent free in your heads, which is funny because you just beat them and won the World Series. Why do you care so much about what a Padre fan thinks? But maybe that's just me. Can anyone explain how the Padres couldn't sign Sasaki? They could. He chose the Dodgers. It's not like they couldn't. They had saved up money, international money. He ended up signing what, $6.5 million, something like that, the bonus pool to the Dodgers, which is around what the Padres had. I think they had a little less than 6.3. So it was never going to be about the money. It was about the situation. Let's see. Yeah, lots of Dodger comments. Holy cow. Go find something else better to do. Yeah, these are too many comments. So, Padre fans, I apologize if I wasn't able to get to your comments. There's just so many that are like not Padre fans, and it's just so I just keep scrolling. Monty here. Pods players now just need to be unified and focused. Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I think going into last year there was that unification. Is that a word? They were unified and focused, like goal in mind, trying to win this for Peter, and they ended up having a pretty darn good year. Obviously, it sucked the ending, but regular season outperformed. I think a lot of people's expectations, right? So, yeah, if they and I think Mike Schilt, the perfect guy to be leading this team, and I think Manny as a leader keeps getting better year after year. I don't care what Dodger fans say, whatever, but year after year, yeah, I think he keeps getting better. Jackson Merrill in year 2, I think he'll keep getting better. Like, there's still positives from this team. And yeah, if they're focused and don't pay attention to the outside noise, then yeah, this can still be a playoff team. And I know some people will laugh at that right now, looking at what the roster looks like right now. But I don't care too much about the roster, what the roster looks like right now. I care about what it looks like at the start of the year, if they're in contention after the trade deadline, what moves were made before it, what does it look like? You don't win by having the best roster on January 17th. It helps to have a great roster on paper. Yeah, I'd love to have it, but it's not the end of the world still that there's things that need to be done, additions that need to be made by the Padres here. JD's third says the lawsuit and timing was a major factor for sure. We don't know that. We don't. I mean, after all that came out, he still went and met with the Padres and threw in Padres gear at Petco Park. And I assume that the Padres finished second to the Dodgers in this. Mr. B with the super chat, thank you for this. Little bro and not a rivalry, yet their fans want to go to Petco, are all over our YouTube communities and want our players. Last year Soto, this year Scott. They're a pathetic fan base. And don't forget that they threw stuff at our players during the postseason. Let's not forget about that either. I'm never going to forget about that. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. That's who the fan. That's who they are. I hate Dodger fans. There are some that are good. I don't want to make it seem like it's all Dodger fans, but the majority of them, that's who they are, unfortunately. Okay, I'll admit it, Carlos. This is a good one. I think this is a Dodger fan. Here is $5 for your international pool money. We got what we wanted. Losers. Well, thank you for that. I'll forward that over to Petco Park. I'm sure they'll need that. But yeah, that's what I've got tonight. Thank you all for the time. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dodger fans, as well. You know, they still count as views, even when you're trolling. But everyone have as good of a night as you can if you're a Padres fan. And Dodger fans, maybe find something else better to do.